From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
What happens when one person decides not to leave a house? We've mentioned this before on the show a couple of times. I'm trying to think of the full context in which we've discussed it, but the concept of evictions and the rights that an individual or group has when they are living in a place. And now it changes a lot over, especially in the United States, it changes on a state-by-state basis. There are some rules that apply overall, but most of it's going to be handled in whichever state you're living in. Now, I'm going to read a story to you from Fox 2 Detroit. This is the headline. Couple buys Riverside dream home, but seller refuses to move out in eviction moratorium loophole. So the concept here is that, I'll just give it to you, the overall thing. Man 1 owns a $560,000 house. It's a big, really nice $500,000 house. He calls up a real estate agent and says, hey man, I really need to sell my home really quickly. It needs to be at least $560,000 and I need to sell it in like 2 weeks. Let's do this. So real estate agent and man number 1 put out, an ad as you do, or here's the information on this house. We need it sold quickly. On the other side, you've got a younger couple that are trying to purchase a home. They identify this home. They realize that it's worth more than that amount of money on the market. So they think, oh, this is a great deal. We're going to buy this house. We're going to scrap together all the money, get some loans, make it happen right now. Let's do this. That was in January of 2020, I believe, when that occurred. January 31st. That is the purchase date of the home. That is when $560,000 went into the bank account of person 1, the guy who owned the house and was living in the house. Now, that occurs, and usually there's a contract if you're buying or selling a home, if you're renting, you're moving, anything like that. There's a contract that says when you are allowed to move into this new purchase or this newly rented, newly leased home. In this case, that date came and it went because when the couple arrived there to try and take over the new property, the man just decided he wasn't going to leave. He says, yeah, I know you paid for this house and transferred all of these documents to you. It's all legal. It's all written out. Everybody's got it. The banks are involved. Everybody knows there's a legal purchase here, but I'm not leaving. And there's a bit of weirdness occurring here because this was in early January of 2020. And we all remember that a couple of months from that point, just like I think around a month and a half from that point, we all realized as a world that there was a pandemic going on and nobody could really leave their homes at all. I don't see in this reporting exactly how that came into play here, at least from a timeline standpoint, but it is very, very odd to imagine that this could happen and like a sheriff or a police officer wouldn't be able to go to the house, do the police knock on the door, and then just say, get out. Get out. This is not your house. Leave. And apparently that will not occur.
Is it because of squatters' rights or something? I don't understand. Why can't they do that? Like, people get evicted all the time. People's stuff gets thrown out into yards if they miss a rent payment.
They're saying, I mean, it's weird. Like here's a quote from the article from an eviction attorney named Dennis Block. He says, this person is not a tenant. It's a previous owner who is enjoying the benefits of the money that was transferred to his account, but he doesn't want to move out of the premises that he no longer owns. He's like just saying, like, that's what's going on here. So according to what's been written up here in this article, they're saying that they closed the escrow in January 2020, and they've contacted authorities. They've been attempting for a long time now to get this person out, but they've gotten nowhere. And they're saying it's like a COVID tenant situation. The concept where there's been a moratorium on evictions, right? In a lot of places, and rightly so, it's been made much more difficult to evict someone from a home. If you are the landowner and someone is renting that property, you can't just kick someone on the street because people are having problems making rent payments right now.
Mhm.
Obviously, people are having trouble doing that. Watch John Oliver. He's got a whole special on it. You can learn all about it. But in this case, that is not at all the situation. And it appears that that's what is occurring here.
So it's kind of like, just for a comparison, it's, well, there are two comparisons. I don't know which is helpful, but the easiest one is, let's say you sell someone a car and you say, thanks for the cash, and you drive away in the car you sold them, right? And you still use the car, and you just refuse to hand over the keys. The other less helpful comparison I would make, just because I enjoy it, is let's say you go to Taco Bell and you pay for a Mexi Melt, and the person you pay takes the money and then starts to eat it in front of you.
That's just cruel.
Yeah,
That's inhumane.
And it seems like in this case, this person doesn't fall under some, or they shouldn't fall under some of those loopholes, because it's not as if they are financially unable to acquire other accommodation, right? Like they were paid house level money, which lets you do some pretty big moves if you wish. I don't understand why that person, you're right, squatter rules, as they're commonly called. I don't know how they would apply, because some states have a baked in statute, right? A time limit. Like if you were squatting on an abandoned property for insert number of years here, then you become considered like a legal occupant, or there's a path to that. But, and I want to be very careful, Matt, not to ascribe motive if I'm just guessing, or to call this person a terrible person if we don't know their circumstances, right? There may be some compelling issue, right?
Yeah, we have no idea what this situation is. Again, this is like a little Fox report on this about a person who sold a home and won't leave. This is what I would say. And maybe you guys won't like this very much. I think there needs to be a company, like a private company, that is kind of like a towing company. You know, these towing companies that will find out there's a car that's overdue or something on the payments for like 3 months. They can't locate the vehicle, but then they have essentially a private investigator track down the vehicle, and a tow truck.
A repo company, right?
Oh, thank you for explaining in one word what I was trying to say.
Made famous by Emilio Estevez.
That's right. From
Repo Man.
The weird, it's a very genre kind of B movie, Repo Man. Very strange, but a classic. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's
Slapstick
not
comedy.
forget the genetic opera. But but what I'm saying is there needs to be a company that is like that, but for like a lawful, like an eviction where someone just won't leave, where they've got elaborate ruses where somebody comes to the front door and, puts on a show of some sort to get them outside of the home. Then another person like sneaks out and gets them out of the house, then locks the door and then changes the locks really fast.
Oh, there's potential for it, because the how do we say this carefully? From what I understand, the legal owner of this house went and tried to fix the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dude ran out and tore up the sprinklers, or the sprinkler line they had set down. So this is definitely a get off my lawn type of dude. So just get on the lawn and see.
Get
what
on the
happens.
lawn, bait them out like the mice.
Yep.
Then lock him in a place where he can't see for 40 days, and you've got a full episode of stuff they don't want you to know.
I have to say, one thing that really stood out to me in this, man, is that the eviction attorney you mentioned, Dennis Block, says it's not unique that there have been almost 10 other examples of this. But at the risk of sounding unempathetic, it feels like the most important thing to remember here is that these eviction moratoriums were written in a hurry, and they're very much necessary for a huge part of the U.S. population. But this is very clearly not the spirit of the law as it was intended. And I don't think you have to have graduated from Harvard or something to clock that. The people who bought the home went all in. You know what I mean? They did not, as they say in Gattaca, save anything for the swim back. And the person who is, to add insult to injury, petty insult to injury, apparently the person who is continuing to live in the home they sold, they're not taking care of it. So imagine you spent you have saved for years and years and years, and you have basically paid for a very expensive piece of sadistic performance art where somebody makes you watch them ruin your Mexi melt. Like this is, and you paid much more than you would.
And you just paid $500,000 for that Mexi melt.
Right, I want to know more about this person. Sounds like a bit of a sociopath.
Well, who knows? Again, who knows what's going on there?
Right.
But again, I'm ready to start that company. If anybody out there listening wants to, and I will. If you're a heavy, like you, whoever you are, you'd have to play the heavy probably. But I can dance around on a lawn, make a nuisance. I can play that other part. You just let me know.